So hey anime fans, the series name is What If Naruto Become the King of Kushina, so let's start the series. Naruto was seething with anger as he entered a clearing in the Wave Country's forest. His team had embarked on their first C-rank mission to protect the bridge builder, Tazuna, but things had taken a surprising turn. Initially, it was meant to be a straightforward assignment to safeguard the client from bandits, but it became apparent that Tazuna hadn't been entirely truthful about the mission's details. A few hours into the mission, Team 7 encountered the Demon Brothers, Chunin-level missing Nin. Naruto froze when he witnessed the gruesome scene of his sensei, Kakashi, seemingly torn apart. However, it turned out to be an elaborate ruse as Kakashi used the Kawarimi no Jutsu and a minor genjutsu to make it appear as though he was defeated. This deception was designed to test the mettle of his team and identify the missing Nin's target, Tazuna, the bridge builder. Tazuna revealed that Gato, a powerful and shady figure, held the Wave Country in a stranglehold, using mercenaries and thugs to oppress its people. Tazuna's bridge represented hope for the Wave Country, offering a chance to connect with the mainland and establish a new trade route. Consequently, Gato wanted Tazuna dead. Despite the elevated risks, Team 7 decided to continue the mission. Their decision became dauntingly clear when they encountered the notorious missing Nin Momoichi Zabuza, one of the 7 swordsmen of the Mist and an A-rank threat. After a grueling battle, Kakashi was on the verge of defeating Zabuza when a Kiri Hunter Nin intervened and finished the job. Kakashi collapsed from exhaustion, and the team sought refuge with Tazuna and his daughter, Tsunami. Kakashi revealed that Zabuza might still be alive, casting a shadow of uncertainty over their mission. To prepare for the challenges ahead, Kakashi tasked his team with learning the tree-walking exercise, a technique that involved channeling chakra to their feet to climb trees. After one such training session, Inari, Tsunami's son, bitterly criticized the Leaf Nin for their efforts and predicted their deaths in the fight against Gato. His words struck a nerve with Naruto, stirring up memories and emotions he had long tried to bury. Naruto's initial reaction would have been to shout and rant, but Inari's comments unleashed a torrent of suppressed feelings. With an intense glare at Inari, Naruto tersely excused himself from the table and retreated to the forest, where he currently found himself, tearing through the trees with a small army of clones in an attempt to quell his rage. The young ninja seethed with frustration. How dare that little brat? He has a mother and a grandfather who love him, and he dares to preach about suffering. Arg! Naruto's thoughts were consumed by anger as he demolished the surrounding trees. This destructive rampage continued for another hour until Naruto was physically and emotionally drained. As he sat against a standing tree, he contemplated his life. He usually avoided this subject because it brought back painful memories. Naruto's life in Konoha had left him with numerous emotional scars, even though he bore no physical ones. While he hadn't endured physical abuse in the village, except for encounters with inebriated villagers and his annual birthday tormentors, he had endured relentless verbal and emotional abuse. As a young boy full of innocence and life, growing up in an environment that denied his very existence and sometimes encouraged his suicide was mentally scarring. The glares, whispers of hatred, and derisive comments, which had even bled into the younger generation, were sometimes unbearable. Naruto had been cast out of the orphanage at a young age, forcing him to survive on the streets for a significant part of his childhood. Sleeping in dark alleyways, rummaging through trash for food, these experiences had taken their toll on him. Yet, for the most part, Naruto had managed to remain as strong as he could. It didn't mean he was untouched. Those experiences left lasting impressions, even if he didn't always acknowledge them. Naruto had been fighting since the day he was born, fighting for attention, recognition of his existence, and most importantly, fighting for survival. He had suppressed his feelings, wants, and desires to appear harmless in an attempt to gain acceptance from the villagers. This suppression was so deeply ingrained that he had convinced himself he was happy and that becoming Hokage would solve all his problems. He had repeated this mantra for so long that he genuinely believed it. However, life was never that simple. Naruto had begun to question why he, a 13-year-old abused orphan, should bear the burden of patience and understanding when the adults around him behaved so disgustingly. Why should he always be the one to suffer while others made excuses for their repulsive behavior? He felt like giving up on some days, but he knew that doing so would be a victory for the villagers. So, he continued to persevere, hoping that one day he would find some meaning in his life. With these thoughts weighing heavily on him, Naruto gazed up at the sky, feeling a sense of disconnection. He wondered if he could ever truly find happiness. He believed that the universe had unfairly singled him out, and he had become the punching bag for some malevolent force. The Hokage's words about things getting better with patience and understanding rang hollow to him. Why should he, a 13-year-old, bear the burden of being patient and understanding when it seemed that no one else would? Naruto allowed unconsciousness to claim him, and the weight of his emotions pushed him into a deep slumber. Scene change. On a beautiful morning, a young girl ventured into the forest. The sun bathed the surroundings in a warm glow, and a gentle breeze rustled through the trees. Dew glistened on the green grass, and the woodland creatures contributed to a peaceful and serene atmosphere. The girl moved gracefully, clutching a basket and scanning her surroundings for useful items. As she ventured deeper into the forest, she stumbled upon a scene of devastation. Trees were slashed, and chunks of earth were overturned, reminiscent of a battlefield. However, her attention was drawn to a blonde figure dressed in vibrant orange, sleeping peacefully amidst the wreckage. She recognized him immediately. He is the loud one from the team of Konohanin that Zabuza-sama encountered, thought the girl, now identified to be the accomplice of Zabuza. She paused as she carefully weighed her options. It would be so simple to kill him right now in his sleep, were the thoughts running through her mind as she approached Naruto. She crouched down beside him and reached out her slender hand towards his neck in a motion that looked like a choke before diverting at the last second and gently shaking the boy awake. Hey, if you sleep out here you'll catch a cold, you know, spoke the girl in a soft voice. This was what Naruto heard as he groggily regained consciousness. As his bleary eyes took in his surroundings, he focused on the person whose touch he could feel. From the sweet scent wafting from the person he could tell it was a girl. He focused on her face, and a huge blush covered his face as he took in her porcelain skin, long brown hair that framed her beautiful face, and her chocolate brown eyes that gazed at him with concern. He could feel his heart thumping in his chest and could only find one appropriate word to describe her. Tenshi, was whispered out by Naruto as he gazed almost drunkenly at the girl. The girl for her part had a light blush from being called an angel coupled with the intense gaze of the young boy. She just smiled beautifully at him instead, increasing his blush. He quickly snapped out of his funk and sheepishly rubbed the back of his head as he spoke to her. Did you wake me up, Tenshi-chan? By the way, what are you doing here? He questioned bashfully as he scratched his cheek. The girl felt a little embarrassed once again at the nickname but soldiered through with her response. Picking herbs, was her reply. Herbs? Questioned Naruto quizzically. That's right, it's to cure injuries and illnesses, she said, and Naruto noticed how soft and gentle her voice sounded, so free of the usual hatred or contempt that he's become accustomed to. It gave him a warm feeling in the pit of his stomach. Being the emotionally stunted boy that he is, he had no way of identifying what these sensations were. All he knew was that he liked the fuzzy feelings it gave him and he didn't want it to end. With that in mind, he offered to help the pretty girl to pick the herbs that she wanted. As they got to picking, Naruto would occasionally steal glances at her. If she noticed she never made it known, he decided that he wanted to hear more of her lovely voice. Tenshi-chan, why are you doing a tedious job like this in the morning? He asked. Again a little dusting of pink made its way to her cheeks from constantly being called an angel. Please don't call me that, my name is Haku, stated the girl. Naruto's smile just widened at hearing her name but caught himself as it was only polite to introduce himself. Nice to meet you, Haku-chan. I'm Uzumaki Naruto, future Hokage of Konoha. He exclaimed boisterously, pumping his fist to the air, causing the girl to honestly giggle at his goofiness. Naruto was struck one more by the overwhelming feeling of warmth from the incredible sound of her giggles. It was delicate, like the sound of tinkling bell. He didn't understand why, but he desperately wanted to hear more of that sound. It's nice to meet you too, Naruto-kun, she responded with a dazzling smile, turning the poor boy into a blushing, stuttering mess. Haku just giggled a little in her mind. She honestly thought the boy was cute. He seemed so full of life and innocence. His smile was infectious and she found herself being drawn in by him. She knew that Zabuza-sama would not approve, but she wanted to know more of this strange boy. What are you doing here so early in the morning, Naruto-kun? She questioned. He finally got his wits about him and answered with a big grin on his face that made his eyes squint, making him look like a mischievous fox. She thought it was quite cute. Training, was the emphatic reply to her question, causing her to blink at him. Are you a ninja or something? She inquired. Even though she knew he was, she felt a little guilty about deceiving him, but she didn't want to give herself away as yet. She didn't understand why though, as he was technically the enemy, but something deep inside her was calling out to this boy. It was almost primal. She needed desperately to know what it was. That Hittite is. Do I look like one? Do I look like one? He questioned, excitedly happy that someone was able to recognize him as such. Haku once again giggled at his energetic personality. That's right, I'm a ninja. He finished, pointing his thumb to his chest. Wow, you're amazing, she commented, causing him to blush and puff out his chest at the compliment. She could honestly say she found him endearing with all his little quirks. But she need to know something important first. But why are you training? She asked. I want to become stronger, was his honest reply. But you look strong enough already, replied Haku. No, I want to become stronger and stronger, countered Naruto. Haku looked a little pensive. For what reason? She questioned. To become the #1 shinobi in my village. I'm going to make everyone acknowledge my power, he stated boldly. Haku didn't reply immediately, instead took a little time to gather herself. Are you doing that for someone else, or for yourself? She inquired, her question probing into the depths of his character. Naruto appeared genuinely puzzled by the question. He had never really considered the motivation behind his actions. He had simply powered forward with the belief that if he became strong and achieved the title of Hokage, everyone would acknowledge and respect him. Haku couldn't help but giggle at his cute and confused expression, though Naruto was slightly put out that she found amusement in his response. What's so funny? Naruto asked with a pout, prompting more laughter from Haku. After she finally composed herself, she wore a gentle smile that melted Naruto's insides. Let me ask you something, Haku began, her tone soft and thoughtful. Do you have someone important to you? The question seemed to freeze Naruto in place. Haku's sharp senses detected his inner turmoil, but Naruto was determined to push those thoughts aside. Important? Naruto responded with a quizzical look. A heavy silence settled over the clearing. Haku could sense the emotional turmoil brewing within him. Naruto began to contemplate her question, and then, in a feeble attempt to divert the conversation, he posed a counter-question. What are you getting at? Their conversation lapsed into silence as Haku, lost in her own memories of a difficult past, chose not to press the issue further. Unbeknownst to both of them, they shared similar backgrounds and had faced comparable hardships. Naruto couldn't help but worry about Haku as he watched her somber expression deepen. While Haku reminisced, Naruto looked upon her with concern in his eyes. Though they hadn't known each other for long, he felt a unique connection with her that he had never experienced with anyone else. He desperately wanted to see her smile again. Just as he was about to voice his concerns, Haku looked up, locking her beautiful chocolate brown eyes onto his. Her pretty pink lips parted, and her sweet voice delivered words that would eternally etch into Naruto's soul and change not only his life but the course of the world as well. A person is able to become truly strong when they wish to protect someone they cherish. Hearing those words was like a resounding gong within him. They reverberated through Naruto, resonating with something deep within his soul. His very essence seemed to scream for attention. Naruto began to search his mind for someone who fit the description of the person Haku had mentioned. He had people he considered precious, but he always had doubts. His thoughts turned to the Hokage, Gigi, whom he held in high regard, but the Hokage had always maintained that the entire village was his family. Naruto had never heard of him taking a special interest in any other orphans, so what made him special? His doubts had intensified when Mizuki revealed the truth about the Kyubi no Yoko sealed within him. It felt like a punch to the gut. Naruto had asked the Hokage repeatedly over the years why the villagers treated him so poorly, and he had always been told that they feared what they didn't understand, and that he should be patient with them. It had never made much sense to him, but after Mizuki's revelation, everything clicked. It hurt to think that the Hokage had lied to him all those years. Naruto couldn't help but question other aspects of his life now. The Hokage had lied about the Kyubi, so what else might he have lied about? Questions about his parents and other aspects of his life filled his mind. He also had mixed feelings about Iruka-sensei, who initially treated him with scorn and contempt. Although Iruka had come around and become someone precious to Naruto, the memory of that initial hostility lingered. The same could be said for his team, with Sakura's constant abuse, Sasuke's disdain, and Kakashi-sensei's seemingly detached demeanor. Naruto knew he could trust the father-daughter duo who owned a Chiraku ramen, Tsuchijiji and Ayam-michin, as they had always provided him with food when he was hungry. But Naruto found it difficult to trust others in his village. These thoughts flashed through his mind in a matter of seconds as he looked up at Haku. To his surprise, Haku had detected the turmoil in his eyes. She would understand that look, she saw it in herself every time she looked in the mirror. Naruto decided to take a leap of faith and opened up about his life and the struggles he had faced. It was the first time he had ever spoken to anyone about the inner demons that haunted him. Haku was shocked by the similarities between their lives, finding in Naruto a kindred spirit. In return, Haku shared her life story, omitting her role as Zabuza-sama's accomplice. Naruto was equally astonished by the parallels in their lives. As they talked more about themselves, their hobbies, likes, and dreams, Naruto felt as if a weight had been lifted from his chest, a weight he hadn't even realized was there. As he gazed at Haku's beautiful features and the happiness radiating from her, he felt his heart beating with newfound joy. He couldn't help but think that there was no sight more beautiful than her. As the day was drawing to a close, they realized they had to return to their respective places. They made a promise to meet up again tomorrow and on the following days. Naruto left the clearing with a newfound spring in his step, feeling lighter than he ever had before. Scene change. Naruto was abruptly awakened by a feminine scream followed by a loud crash. He quickly surveyed his surroundings and realized he was in the guest house at Tazuna's home. It appeared he had overslept. He heard another scream, and he recognized the voice. It was Tsunami. He sprang into action and hurried down the stairs. The scene that greeted him made his blood boil. Tsunami was on her knees, her hair being cruelly held by one of Gato's thugs. Her face bore a red mark, evidence of a recent blow. Another thug advanced menacingly toward a trembling Inari. Naruto was about to rush to their aid when he heard Inari's voice. "Let go of my mom, you jerks!" He shouted whilst brandishing a kitchen knife. Naruto broke out into a little smile at the boy finally finding his resolve to stand up for himself and his mother. While the thugs laughed at him, Naruto created two clones and quickly used the Kawarimi no Jutsu to replace Tsunami and Inari with them and proceeded to beat the thugs into unconsciousness while the two looked on in awe. After rounding them up with some ninja wire and asking his clones to take them out in the woods, he turned to the residents of the house. He smiled at Inari. "Good job protecting your mother, Inari. I'm sure she's proud of you," he stated, causing the boy to blush happily at the praise and his mother to beam happily at him. Naruto inquired as to his team's whereabouts and could help feel a bit of dread when he was told that they made their way to the bridge. As he took off toward the bridge, he couldn't help reminisce about the last few days of his life, having met up with Haku for the last 4 days to talk about everything and anything that they could think of. He could honestly say it was the happiest time of his life. He didn't know what it was about the girl, but she made him feel at peace, with the world and with himself. When he was with her, all his problems seemed so insignificant in the face of her beautiful smile when he made her laugh or her adorable pout when he teased her. The feeling of contentment and belonging was one he was unfamiliar with, and he honestly couldn't comprehend the strange new feeling she ignited within him. All he knew was that he wanted to protect her smile. He wanted to make her happy, and he would go to any lengths to keep her safe. He would talk to her about these strange feelings when he sees her next time, and hopefully she can tell him what to do. She was a smart girl. She would know how to help him. The sounds of fighting and metal clashing reached his ears as he looked up and noticed the conflict taking place on the bridge. He saw Kakashi-sensei engaging Zabuza trough the mist on the bridge. He also spotted Sakura-chan guarding Tazuna, although he did notice her trembling. The final he noticed, and the strangest, was a large dome-like structure that looked to be made of ice. It looked quite foreboding. By the process of elimination he realized that it was probably Sasuke who was fighting Zabuza's accomplice in there. He figured that Kakashi-sensei could take care of himself and that Sasuke would need a hand. He rushed towards the dome just in time to see Sasuke fall to the ground, his body riddled with what looked like Sanbon. He was still and unmoving. While Naruto didn't really like the guy, he was still a fellow Konoha shinobi. He could feel his anger overcome him. Haku noticed Naruto rush in just in time to see his teammate fall. She had conflicting feelings at this juncture. While she wanted to fulfill the mission that Zabuza-sama assigned her, she didn't want to hurt Naruto-kun. She wasn't ashamed to say that she had quite the soft spot for the blonde enigma. In the few days they have known each other, he had somehow wormed his way into her heart. She knew that she would never be able to harden her heart enough to do what needs to be done. "Was he a friend of yours?" "He fought well, he just wasn't strong enough. This is the way of the shinobi world," said Haku solemnly. She knew he was still alive as she didn't aim for any vital points, but she needed to keep up the charade. While this was going on, Naruto was thinking about the words Haku spoke to him in the forest when they first met. A person is able to become truly strong when they wish to protect someone they cherish. He would never consider Sasuke someone precious to him as long as he lived, but as his teammate and fellow Konohanin, he was the closest to fulfilling that description, even if it's just for a moment. He wanted to live by those words spoken by the angel who gave him newfound strength and determination. He pictured it was her lying there instead of Sasuke. When he did, something inside him snapped and a monstrous amount of chakra burst from his body, saturating the atmosphere of the bridge with an air of oppression and malevolence. Haku was shocked at the power that her friend was radiating. It was palpable in the air. She never imagined he was this strong from their interactions. He was always so gentle and caring towards her. Thinking about it made her heart flutter. Looking at him now, she couldn't help but smile. While she only knew him for a few days, she can say with confidence that she knows him well enough to know what he is thinking right now. He is probably repeating the words she spoke to him and trying to live up to them. That brought a warm smile to her face, knowing that her words brought out his inner strength. For a large part of her life, she viewed herself as a tool for Zabuza-sama to use. But even if it's for a few moments, she will be the tool that will give her new friend the strength to break his shackles. With that in mind, she directed her senbon at him, aiming for non-fatal spots. He didn't even move as the visible shroud of chakra around him deflected the senbon, much to her shock. She decided to dart between her mirrors to get a better angle, but she found herself momentarily frozen as Naruto followed her speed and intercepted her. That fraction of a second was all that he needed though, as he delivered a thunderous haymaker right to her face, sending her crashing out of the dome, causing the entire structure to collapse. Naruto felt the adrenaline pumping through his veins. He would admit that the power he was feeling was a bit addictive, but then he pictured Haku's face and he promised himself that he would never lose himself to it. As his opponent groggily stood up, cracks could be seen showing of their mask. Naruto charged in once more to deliver a finishing blow. As his fist neared the face of his opponent, her mask shattered, revealing the face of the person he now held closest to his heart. Even covered in blood and wounds, she was the most beautiful person in his eyes. Her sad smile tugged painfully at his heartstrings. At this moment, he was lost and confused. All his power just ebbed away in her presence. Haku-chan? Why? He questioned with a hitch in his throat. She just looked at him sadly. I am Zabuza-sama's tool. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun. I seem to have outlived my usefulness. Please finish me off. I can die happily knowing it was by your hands, she said somberly. Naruto was having trouble comprehending the last few moments of his life. He was starting questioning his interactions with the girl. The fact that Haku was an enemy hurt him, but more than that, hearing her defeatist attitude and calling herself a tool pushed him over the edge. How can you say that? You're my friend Haku, and I would never hurt you. You're the one who made me see that I was worth something. You're the one that taught me to value my life no matter what I've been through, so how can you think so little of yours? I won't allow you to think that way, countered Naruto, emphatically, bringing a bright smile to her face. His presence alone filled her with incredible warmth and security. He was like a gentle ray of sunlight in her dark world. She had no problem admitting to herself that what she felt for him was far deeper than she anticipated. Her reply was cut off though by the loud sounds of what sounded like chirping birds. She looked towards Zabuza-sama and saw that he was in trouble, although what she was about to do filled her with sadness. She couldn't help it. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun. It looks like this broken tool has one final purpose to fulfill. She spoke with deep regret as she gathered the final vestiges of her power and disappeared from the spot. Naruto screamed out her name in anguish and ran in the direction he knew he would find her, and could only hope he wasn't too late. Scene change. Kakashi was exhausted after a grueling fight with the infamous Demon of the Mist, as powered up his only original jutsu to finish the job. He was finally able to catch Zabuza off guard with his summons holding him in place for him to deliver the final blow. He ran forward with as much velocity as he could gather and thrust his hand towards the chest of his enemy. Raikiri. Schlurk. The sound and sensation of his hand sinking into flesh greeted him, but as he looked up and saw the face of a young girl, one that he realized from the way she dressed was Zabuza's accomplice. This was the scene that Naruto walked into, the hand of his sensei stuck in the chest of his most precious person. Haku-chan. He screamed hysterically, snapping Kakashi out of his funk, making him withdraw his hand, causing the girl to fall forward. As she was about to hit the ground, Naruto rushed forward and slid on his knees, skinning them in the process, and gathered her in his arms. As he gazed upon her dying visage, Naruto felt the dam break. Never once in his life has he ever given in to the sadness that plagued him. He refused to shed tears. Throughout it all he stayed strong. But as he looked at the state Haku was in, he felt all the tears he ever held back burst out of him. He held her close as he sobbed his heart out. As he surreyed though, he felt a soft dainty hand gently cup his cheek. he followed the hand to the face of his angel, the one who brought him salvation. You're always such a crybaby, Naruto-kun, she joked at his expense. Why, Haku-chan? He questioned weakly. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, my body just reacted on its own. But I don't regret it, I was able to protect my precious person, she answered with a happy smile. Was it all a lie? The time we spent together? Naruto questioned desperately, a deep need for clarity burning within him. Haku looked into his eyes, her voice tinged with weakness as she responded, of course not, Naruto-kun, cough. I treasured every moment I spent with you. I told you I always thought of myself as a tool, but when I'm with you, I feel like I can just be a regular girl. You made me feel human for the first time in my life. Every second spent with you is something I will forever hold in my heart. I know you, cough, have no reason to trust me, Naruto-kun, but please believe me when I say you mean the world to me. Haku spoke with a gentle smile on her face, causing Naruto's heart to swell with emotion. More tears welled up in his eyes. You mean the same to me. Before I met you, I was so lost. I felt I had no purpose in my life. But you came along and filled me with this sense of warmth that I never felt before. Your smile filled me with happiness that I've never known. Hearing you laugh made me feel as though I could spend the rest of my life listening to such a beautiful sound. I swore that I would protect you with my life if I had to just to preserve that smile. I know I'm a pretty dumb guy, so I told myself the next time I see you, I would ask you what those strange feelings meant because I just didn't understand them, Naruto confessed in a bit of a rush, pouring out his feelings. He was met with the same beautiful laugh from Haku that he had grown addicted to. Love, Naruto-kun. That feeling is love, Haku answered with the brightest, most beautiful smile Naruto had ever seen on her. Even near death, her radiance was unmatched in his eyes. I know that because I feel the same way when I am with you. I love you too, Naruto-kun, she said, tears of happiness shimmering in her eyes. Hearing those words shattered every psychological barrier Naruto had ever erected in his life and pierced his very soul. The happiness he felt from that single statement made his entire life worth it. All the abuse, all the suffering, it was all worth it if it meant hearing those magical words from this angel in his arms. It felt as though his entire life had led to this one moment. Naruto had never known such peace within himself. He felt as though he could topple mountains with a punch and take on the gods themselves for her sake. Lost in this euphoria, an unwelcome sound brought his happiness crashing down. Cough, cough. The sound of Haku coughing up blood echoed in the clearing. Her breathing grew shallower, and Naruto began to panic. Haku-chan. Hang in there, please, he pleaded desperately. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, but I'm not going to make it, Haku said with a sad smile, her voice filled with resignation. No. Don't say that. I know you can fight this. Please, you have to. Naruto cried, his voice cracking with anguish. Don't be sad, Naruto-kun. I'm happy that if I'm going to die, it would be in the arms of the man I love. There is no better way to go for me, Haku replied with a content expression, her eyes filled with affection. No. Don't say that, Haku-chan. I still need you. You're the only one that loves me. I can't go back to the way things were. I can't go on without you, Haku-chan. Please, please, I'm begging you, please don't leave me, Naruto begged, sobbing into her chest. It broke Haku's heart to see him like this. She wished she could spend the rest of her life with him, raising a family together, growing old together. But she knew that it would never happen, and it pained her to think of the pain he would endure. Those images of their life together, no matter how fleeting, were ones she longed for, and she knew her beloved felt the same. It brought tears to her eyes, knowing the pain he would experience because of this. That's why she needed him to understand. She needed him to make peace with what was about to happen. Naruto-kun. I know it hurts, Haku began, her voice soft and trembling. I don't want to leave you either. I wanted to live with you, to start a family with you, to grow old with you. But I won't make it, sob. I know it will hurt, but I also know that you are strong and that you will overcome this. Sob. I know in my heart that you will be somebody great in this world, Naruto-kun. I can feel it in my heart, that my Naruto-kun will change this cursed world we live in someday. So please, sob, please be strong for me. Don't close your heart off to others. I'm selfish in that I don't want you to ever forget me, but I also don't want you to be alone for the rest of your life. Promise me, Naruto-kun, as my dying wish, promise me that you will find love again. Sob, promise me, she implored. Naruto felt an even deeper pain at the thought of forgetting his angel. He didn't know if he could fulfill her request, but there wasn't anything in this world he wouldn't do for her. With a wry chuckle through his tears, he replied to her, "You aren't fair, Haku-chan. You know I would never deny you anything." His response made her giggle, the giggle that he loved so much. He just took this time to gaze at her beautiful face, engraving every feature of hers into his mind and his soul. Her hand weakly came up to cup his cheek as he looked into her gorgeous brown eyes that drew him in. She smiled softly. "Can be selfish once more and ask for one more request?" she asked weakly, then put his hand over the one that cupped his face and kissed it gently, feeling his emotions overwhelm him. "Anything for you, Haku-chan," he replied, causing her eyes to shine with happiness. "Can you please take my first and my last kiss?" pleaded Haku, causing his eyes to widen before he looked at her tenderly. Even though he could feel himself breaking, he needed to stay strong for her. He simply nodded his head, causing her eyes to sparkle with happiness. He gently cupped her face as she did the same to him. As they drew closer, they could feel their hearts beating as one. Everything in the world seemed insignificant to them in this moment. Only the presence of the one they loved mattered in this moment. As her soulful eyes looked up at him with all the love she could muster, she said the words that set his heart aflame once more. "I love you, Naruto-kun," she said tenderly, her face filled with love and contentment. "I love you too, Tenshi-chan," replied Naruto with a smile as he felt her soft pink lips connect with his. His world exploded into color from the simple act. The dull world that he lived in was suddenly filled with vibrant colors, brought forth from the angel that saved him from himself. It was a bittersweet moment to him knowing that he might never experience this happiness again. The happiness of sharing your heart fully with one who loves you just the same. As the tears fell from his eyes and he lost himself in the sensations of his first kiss, he felt the hand Haku was cupping his face with fall limply. He could no longer feel her gentle breath on his lips and her body was completely still. As realization finally sank in, the pain he felt in that moment was unbearable. All that could be heard from the now silent bridge was the anguished wail of a heartbroken young boy. The scene on the bridge was one that tugged at the heartstrings of even the most hardened shinobi. As Naruto sobbed painfully whilst clutching onto the cooling corpse of the only person to ever show him love and affection, the two veteran shinobi looked on helplessly. Kakashi for his part was extremely confused. From what he could gather, Naruto seemed to have some kind of relationship with Zabuza's accomplice. He was unsure how that happened, but from the reaction of his student, he can tell it meant more than anything to him. He was having flashbacks to a similar event from his part when his teammate, Noara Rin, did something similar in terms of intercepting his Raikiri to take a death blow. To this day, the nightmares of that event still plague him. He looked on sadly at his student, whose personality reminded him of his other teammate Obito. In his mind, instead of Haku lying on the ground, it was Rin. In place of Naruto, it was Obito crying over her body. The images froze him on the spot, bringing up all the demons that have haunted him throughout his life. Zabuza, for his part, was numb at the scene. His tool did her job, the one he trained her so well to do, and risked her life to save his, and she succeeded. But as he looked on at the blonde brat cradling her in his arms, he can't help but feel a piece of himself missing. He thought back to the dirty little girl that he met under the bridge that day, how he took her in and trained her to be the perfect tool. He thought back to the many adventures they had on the road. While always being on the run was far from a glamorous lifestyle, having her by his side made it all the more bearable. The warm smiles she would use when she welcomed him home made him feel comfort that he never thought he would. He's never had any children, but he couldn't help but wonder if that was what it was like to have a daughter. It was a bittersweet thought for him, as it was too late now to tell the girl what he should have a long time ago. Maybe if he did, she wouldn't have done what she did and would still be alive instead of taking a killing blow for him. He knew he was going to die anyway though. He lost far too much blood. All Haku did was give him a little more time. He could feel his eyes getting a little moist from thoughts of how it seemed his adopted daughter died in vain. The somber atmosphere on the bridge was interrupted by the unwelcome sound of clapping and snickers. "Ooh, oh, looks like you're getting your ass kicked. How disappointing, Zabuza," came the obnoxious nasally voice of a short man standing at the end of the bridge surrounded by numerous thugs. "Gato," spat out Zabuza, "what are you doing here? And what's with those thugs?" "Hee hee, we had a little change of plans. replied Gato snidely. I'm sorry Zabuza, but you're going to die here. What? Roared Zabuza. If I rented out regular ninja, it would cost a lot of money, so, I rented out a nuke nin like you. If you ninja had just killed each other, it would have saved me the trouble and money, commented Gato with a sneer on his face. And you call yourself the Kirigakure no Kijin? You're just a cute little demon if you asked me, he finished with a mocking tone of voice much to the amusement of the thugs around him who started laughing and jeering at Zabuza. Kakashi, I'm sorry, but the battle ends here, stated Zabuza. Since I don't have a reason to kill the bridge builder, I have lost the reason to fight you. Yeah, you're right, replied Kakashi, monetarily pushing whatever thoughts of the past to the back of his mind to deal with the situation at hand. That's right, I owe that little bitch of yours a favor, for breaking my hand like this. But it seems like she's already dead. That's too bad. She would have made a nice gift for my men to play around with. I'm sure they could have broken her to make an obedient little house pet, commented Gato with a lecherous tone of voice. The reactions from those present ranged from the tightening of Kakashi's eyes to Zabuza gritting his teeth in anger. Gato was about to open his mouth to make another snide comment. Before he froze in his tracks, he broke out into a cold sweat and momentarily lost control of his bowels, as evidenced by the wet spot in the front of his pants. An unholy amount of killer intent flooded the bridge, rage, hatred, violence. These were some of the emotions intensely permeating the atmosphere. Kakashi knew the sensation well enough from 13 years ago, when the Kyuubi rampaged in Konoha, but for some reason this time it felt more concentrated, more potent. It honestly made him tremble. He knew exactly where it was coming from though as he looked to his student who was still cradling the body of Haku. Blood-red chakra was swirling dangerously around his body. Kakashi could only hope that the seal held up. Zabuza, for his part, was caught between being impressed to trembling in his boots. He was no stranger to killing intent, but the intent waving off the blonde brat was chilling. He could feel his body freeze up and the hairs on his neck stand on end. It felt like the Shinigami had come to claim his soul. He could feel the stroke of death run up his spine. Gato's subordinates were faring even worse, as untrained thugs. They were never exposed to intent like this, as such they had no way to deal with it. Their breaths caught in their throats, their knees trembled, and they were having visions of the gruesome kinds of death they will suffer at Naruto's hands. It was too much for some of them who couldn't handle it and they collapsed, foaming at the mouth. Naruto, for the first time in his life, let go, all the pain, all the hatred, the desire to cause bodily harm, all the negative emotions he suppressed his whole life came crashing through his very being. And it was all directed at the source of the problems in this country. If it wasn't for this greedy, his beloved Haku-chan might still be breathing. It was a bit of a stretch to think that, but with the state his mind was in, Naruto didn't really give a. The only person to ever show him love and grant his a small measure of happiness in his hellish life, was robbed from him. He was emotionally stunted to begin with, and now, with all these new vicious sensations coursing through him, he didn't know what to do. He needed to direct it somewhere. For the first time in his life, Naruto embraced the hatred that was always knocking at his door. He embraced the pain, the insanity, the agony and welcomed them with open arms. He wanted to slaughter these animals. But he also thought of the love that he experienced, the happiness that Haku-chan granted him, the feeling of peace and serenity. He was so confused, all these conflicting emotions. Some of them didn't even feel like his own, running through him, and he didn't know what to do. Naruto didn't know it. But for a few moments, the blood-red chakra cloak that surrounded his body flickered, turning a golden orange for a few moments. This went unnoticed by everyone on the bridge. But deep within the mind of Naruto, a large blood-red eye with a vertical slit iris snapped open before a fanged grin broke out on a large maw. Oi, Gaki, throw me a kunai, called out Zabuza to Naruto, who paused momentarily to look up. Zabuza noticed the anguish in Naruto's eyes, realizing they reflected his own inner turmoil. However, he had to keep his emotions contained for now. Naruto, even though conflicted, did as asked, understanding that Zabuza had no reason to fight them anymore. Besides, he was Haku's precious person. I know you want to go wild, but I suggest you don't move from that spot. For some reason, Haku seemed to be in love with you. I have never seen her smile so brightly in all the time I've known her. It was a beautiful sight. I have lived a life of many regrets and I have committed many sins. None weigh me down more than the regret I have for never telling Haku how much she meant to me. I regret not telling her that she wasn't just a tool, and that I thought of her as a daughter. She brought brightness into my dark life, shining brightly like the sun, chasing away all the darkness. But I don't have to tell you that, you know better than anyone. I can feel my life slipping away from me, and I know that I won't make it to see tomorrow. But I'm okay with that. I want you to watch, though. As the man that Haku chose, I too will put my faith in you. I know you will become somebody great in the future. So, let me give you a lesson about the life of a shinobi. We may be tools for our villages, but we are human too. Listen well, the measure of a shinobi isn't taken from the life they lived but from the way they died. My last act in this life will not be as the Kirigakure no Kijin but as the proud father who will pave the way for the one who gave my daughter back her smile by protecting what is precious to me. All I ask is that you bury me next to Haku when this is done, finished Zabuza with an uncharacteristic smile on his face, tears streaming from his eyes. He caught the kunai Naruto threw at him with his teeth since his arms were immobile from the damage he had taken during the fight with Kakashi. The thugs were finally regaining some of their bearings when Zabuza exploded into action. With the swiftness of a predator, he pounced on his prey, slashing throats and crushing skulls under his boots. His powerful neck and leg muscles were on full display as he tore through the gang of thugs as if they were made of paper. It was gruesome, but at the same time mesmerizing, a grim display of a shinobi's deadly prowess. As Zabuza took down more and more thugs, ignoring the wounds inflicted on his body, Naruto wondered if this was what it meant to be a shinobi. He had always bragged about becoming Hokage, but he felt weak and helpless in this moment. Holding the lifeless body of the person he had grown to love and watching the man she had sacrificed herself for tearing through their enemies, even on the brink of death, made him question his understanding of strength. Was this true strength? Was this what Haku had spoken of? Even though he knew he was going to die, Zabuza walked towards his death with his head held high. Naruto, for his part, let a small smile grace his face in the midst of the carnage. I understand now, Haku. I understand what you were trying to tell me. I promise you that I will carry your words and your thoughts in my heart forever. This is my promise of a lifetime, thought Naruto with a sad smile. At the other end of the bridge, Inari arrived with a small group of villagers just in time to witness the massacre that was taking place. While most of them felt sick watching the carnage, they couldn't look away. They needed to see this through to the end. Gato was running as fast as his stubby legs could carry him, desperately trying to escape from the demon on his tail. But it was all for naught as Zabuza, even without the use of his arms and with multiple weapons sticking out of his body, was able to take out all the cheap thugs Gato had hired and ran him through with a kunai. Gato cried out in pain. You and I are going to hell together, Gato. Look forward to it. I'll let you see if I'm a cute little demon or not in hell, roared Zabuza as he mercilessly tore through Gato's body with numerous cuts and lacerations from his kunai before plunging it straight into his heart, causing Gato to fall off the edge of the bridge and into the ocean, sealing his fate. With his mission finally accomplished, Zabuza made his way back to Naruto and Haku, walking through the corpses he had left in his wake. As he collapsed next to the young girl, he motioned for Naruto to come closer, whispering something in his ear. Naruto's eyes widened before he took on a determined look. It's time to say goodbye, Haku. Thank you for everything. I'm sorry, were the final words of the feared Kirigakure no Kijin, who died not as a tool or a demon but as a human protecting the one he held closest to his heart. He passed away with a serene smile on his face. Scene change. Naruto stared solemnly at the two grave markers before him as he reminisced about the past week spent in this country. He had experienced fear, sadness, anger, love, and happiness, along with a cacophony of other emotions. It had been a roller coaster of an experience, that was for sure. His heart still ached terribly at the thought of the one he had given it to. He hated the fact that he would never again see her soothing smile, hear her beautiful laugh, or experience the warmth that she had provided him. He wanted to shout, to scream at the unfairness of it all. He wanted to curl into a ball and cry for the angel that was taken from him far too soon. But he had made a promise. He promised her that he would be strong for her. He promised that he wouldn't close off his heart. While he didn't think he would ever let anyone in any time soon, he wouldn't become a brooding recluse like his teammate either. He would be the man that his Haku-chan fell in love with. He would be a man she would be proud of, a man who would protect those precious to him in her honor and memory. He would become the man she knew he could become, and he would change this world so that nobody would ever experience the pain that he and Haku-chan had endured in their lives. How he would do that he was unsure, but she believed in him, and that was all the motivation he needed to take on the world. A smile crossed his face as he thought this. She had truly made a man out of him. He felt like a whole new person, like a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. He felt someone lay a hand on his shoulder and looked to the side to see Kakashi-sensei standing beside him. "Are you doing okay, Naruto?" he questioned. His student was withdrawn ever since the battle on the bridge, which isn't surprising when the revelations on that day were taken into account. He could infer that Naruto had some relationship with the girl, Haku, and he was deeply affected from the loss he experienced. He felt a lingering guilt from his role in that event. He wondered if Naruto hated him for being the one to end the life of the one he loved, but so far he hasn't shown any indication of such. While that may be the case, he hasn't been as social or boisterous as he normally was. He wanted to know if he was going to be okay. Naruto tensed a little before relaxing. He was still unsure how to act around Kakashi-sensei. Whenever he saw him, all he could remember was his lightning-covered hand piercing the chest of Haku-chan. While he knew it wasn't Kakashi's fault as Haku-chan intercepted the attack that was actually meant for Zabuza, he still couldn't get the picture out of his mind. He wasn't sure if he would ever be comfortable around the guy again, but he won't needlessly give in to hatred either. "I won't say I'm fine, Kakashi-sensei. It hurts to know that she's gone, but I have to live on. I know that's what she would have wanted. I won't waste the life she gave back to me," answered Naruto. Kakashi just nodded his head and took the time to pay his own respects. Scene change. We currently find Naruto sitting in the lotus position on the floor of a cottage located deep within the forest of the Wave Country. Zabuza, before he passed away, told Naruto where he could locate their hideout, and he left everything in there to the young blonde. It took Naruto a few hours to find it. It's been 2 days since the battle and Naruto was still recovering emotionally from the ordeal. He followed the advice of Zabuza though, and was pleasantly surprised by the amount of equipment that was hoarded by the two: large amounts of kunai, shuriken, senbon, ninja wire, explosive tags, smoke bombs, blades of varying lengths, and even soldier pills were what he found, along with clothes and a large amount of money that Zabuza was saving up. He felt a little bad by taking these things but shook off his hesitation as it was Zabuza himself that told him to take the equipment and use it how he saw fit. It was a blessing in disguise for Naruto, who couldn't get quality equipment in Konoha due to the prejudice of the villagers, who either kicked him out of their stores or overcharged him and sold him crappy equipment. This was evidenced by the blunted and chipped kunai and shuriken he's been using. He gathered those from the training grounds surrounding the village, but he knew that he needed better tools as it might save his life someday. With that in mind, he continued to seal the massive haul of equipment into scrolls for easy travel. He also found, to his amazement, jutsu scrolls, mainly for Suiton and Futon ninjutsu, but also different styles and kata for kenjutsu, along with chakra control exercises. He knew this would be invaluable to him and his shinobi career and silently thanked the late Kirigakure no Kijin for his help. He never had any direction in his career. Neglectful teachers coupled with his goofing around really stunted his growth, but now he finally had the motivation, along with the direction he needed to take himself to the next level. He would not waste this opportunity. After finally sealing everything away and packing the scrolls away into his backpack, Naruto took up the lotus position we now find him in. He didn't really know why, but it felt as though something was calling out to him. He was always one to trust his instincts, and right now his instincts were telling him he needed to do this. He was aware something had changed within him, ever since the events of the bridge. He noticed that he could sense the people around him. It happened on the bridge as well. When he was hit by a multitude of different negative emotions, he didn't understand it then, but over the last few days, he instinctively could tell when the people around him were feeling any negative kind of emotions. He wondered if this was a bloodline or something, but he never told anyone about it. He was still uncomfortable around Kakashi and he felt a bit alone right now, so he decided he would keep his strange new ability to himself. He sat there meditating for what felt like hours. He didn't know how much time had passed, but he knew he needed to keep it up. The feeling was getting stronger. He needed to know what was going on with him. He had a feeling he could get his answers this way. The silence around him was interrupted by what sounded like water dripping. His eyes snapped open as he found himself no longer in the cottage that he knew he was sitting in a few seconds ago. He now found himself in a dimly lit hallway with what looked like numerous pipes running along the wall. Deeper into the hallway, there was water on the floor, and as he got to his feet he noticed that the water reached just above his ankles. All in all, it was quite an eerie place to be in, not to mention depressing. He could feel something primal further down the hall, the same thing that seemed to be calling out to him. He once again trusted his instincts as he walked into the darkness, following the direction of the pipes on the wall. After walking for what felt like ages, he finally saw a little light at the end of the tunnel. As he reached the end, the hallway opened up to a wide expanse. A huge area with the same design as the hallway could be seen, but what caught his eye the most was the enormous cage from right in front of him. The bars looked sturdy and the height was something he was having trouble comprehending as he couldn't see an end to it. In the middle of the gate was a piece of paper with what looked like the kanji 4 seal written on it. Try as he might, he could not see anything other than darkness within the cage. All in all, it was quite the oppressive and intimidating place. The power that was pulsing in the air also made the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. As he contemplated the meaning of his surroundings, his eye caught a slight movement inside the structure. Before he could question it, 2 blood-red eyes snapped open and started directly into his. He started slightly from shock at the action. His heart started beating a mile a minute as more of whatever was behind the cage came into view. The creature stood tall. He could make a rough estimate that it stood close to 50 feet tall. It had luscious crimson fur that honestly made him want to run his hands through it. Its hands were sharp, menacing claws that looked as though it could tear him to shreds without effort. But the most defining feature, and the one that struck him deeply, were the 9 tails that were swishing behind the creature ominously. He knew who this was. He knew what this was. He never thought that day would come where he would actually meet the creature. Even though he knew he should be afraid, he couldn't help himself but admire how beautiful and how majestic the creature looked. He didn't see it as he was too lost in his thoughts, but the creature's eyes widened slightly before an almost imperceptible blush came upon its cheeks. It quickly regained its bearings though and decided to get on with why it called the boy in here. So my jailer has finally decided to grace me with his presence. I'm honored, said the creature with a snarky tone of voice that was dripping heavily with sarcasm. The voice was deep and reverberated throughout the room. It jolted Naruto out of his contemplations as he fixed his gaze upon the creature that was the bane of Konoha. Kyubi, he whispered. He was unsure of what to do or say in this situation. It's not every day you come face to face with a 50-foot tall demon fox that could squash you like a bug if it wanted to. He really wanted to freak the out right now, to scream in fear and shout obscenities. That's what the old him would have done. But in his mind, Haku-chan would be disappointed if he did something like that. He was a new man now though. She made him see the world is more than just black and white. He vowed never to judge a book by its cover. He would keep try to his cool, on the outside at least, and try to figure out what's going on before he starts tripping balls. Oh, you recognized me, how flattering. You are smarter than I thought you would be. Note, I meant that sarcastically. As I have 9 huge tails floating behind me, I'm sure a brain-dead monkey would know who I am. Mocked the now identified Kyubi, much to the annoyance of Naruto. He wanted to keep his cool, but this mother was making it really hard. Do you want a cookie for your amazing deduction? It ridiculed even further. Naruto felt his patience snap. He was never one to take things lying down. You overgrown rabbit. Shot Naruto. That seemed to have set it off fiercely as it started banging its head against the cage while its tails thrashed against the ground. Say that again, you puny insect. If this gate wasn't in the way I would tear you to pieces, you insolent flesh bag. Roared the Kyubi. Naruto was a little shaken, but B didn't show it. He's had a lifetime of putting up fake emotions to say he's gotten pretty good at it. He knew though, that he needed to move this conversation forward. Look, I'm sorry, okay, I shouldn't have said that. You were being kind of annoying and mocking me and it just upset me. I'm sorry, apologized Naruto. He was never one to take such an action, but these last few days have really taken their toll on him. The Kyubi stopped what it was doing and simply raised an eyebrow at him. It eventually shrugged. At least that's what it looked like, before settling down by resting its head on its front paws that were crossed. I accept your apology. I too am sorry for the unsightly little display. My ears are a bit of a sore point for me, said the Kyubi, now that it was speaking normally instead of mocking him or roaring. Naruto noticed it had a strange lilt to its voice that, for the life of him, he couldn't place even though he knew he should. He decided to put it in the back of his mind for now and focus instead on the calamity before him. I understand. I get that way too when people make fun of my height, Naruto said with an understanding look, causing the Kyubi to nod sympathetically. You know, you're a lot more agreeable than I thought you would be. I expected you to be calling for my blood and screaming about hatred and destruction and all that jazz, he pointed out carefully. He knew he had to be careful here, but what he said was true. This meeting was not at all going the way he thought it would when he eventually came face to face with the Kyubi. He honestly expected more fire and brimstone, but he decided not to look a gift horse in the mouth and go with the flow. Humph, you humans always thinking you know everything. Don't hold me to the same standards as your pathetic race. I'm not so weak to give in to hatred and rampage like some mindless beast. That's what you humans do. I'm far more elegant and refined than that, stated the Kyuubi a bit pompously, causing Naruto to chuckle a little, internally of course. He didn't want to set off the creature again by laughing at it. I'm not sound like an ass, but you kind of rampaged in Konoha 13 years ago. That's kind of the reason people hate me so much, pointed out Naruto. While it peeved him to know that the Kyuubi was sealed in him and that it was the primary reason for the abuse he received, he got over it. Blaming the Kyuubi for the situation they were both in would make him no different than those ignorant villagers, something he vowed never to emulate. Humans are always looking for an outlet for their hatred, boy. You just happen to be the one they directed it to in these times of so-called peace. More importantly though, you are assuming that I magically appeared in that pathetic village. You would be wrong. You see, I was in that village since the very beginning, replied the Kyuubi cryptically. Naruto was now majorly confused. He was never one to claim to be a genius, but he also didn't think of himself as being stupid. In times of need, he could think up strategies on the fly better than anyone else. But he was having a hard time wrapping his mind around what the Kyuubi was implying. He didn't even know what this magic was that it spoke of. If what it said was true, somebody would have noticed a big-ass fox around the village at some point. It wasn't like it was easy to hide when you're a 50-foot ing monstrosity. Except of course in his case when it was sealed into high M. His eyes suddenly widened in comprehension. Ho, looks like you aren't as dumb as you look. That right, boy. You are not the first person I have been sealed into. In fact, you are the third. Jinchuriki. It means power of the human sacrifice. That's what humans refer to people like you who have bijou sealed into them, said the Kyuubi. Naruto was in a state of shock. He was the third person to have the Kyuubi inside them. Why didn't anyone tell him that? Why didn't the Hokage make that public knowledge when he revealed that to show the people that he wasn't actually the Kyuubi? To let them know that there have been others who lived in the village that were just like him? He seethed silently and his trust in the old man took another harsh blow. It seemed he was always suffering from the mistakes and misconceptions of those around him. Another piece of information caught his attention though. Bijou? You mean there are more like you? Asked Naruto with a tilt of his head and his eyes squinting in concentration. It was an action that older females would consider cute. Naruto didn't notice it, but there was a light blush on the face of the Kyuubi with regards to his actions. It snapped out of it quickly though. That's right, bijou or tailed beasts are what my siblings and I are referred to. We are each denoted by the unique number of tails we possess. From the Ichibi Shikaku to me, the most powerful Kyuubi. Boasted the Kyuubi whilst striking an intimidating pose, causing Naruto to clap lightly, causing its chest to puff out a little in pride, making Naruto sweat drop. He did find something of interest though. That Kyuubi, what? He asked quizzically, making the beast blink at him uncomprehendingly. What? It questioned confusedly. You said the Ichibi Shikaku. I'm assuming Shikaku is the Ichibi's name. But then you said the Kyuubi. But you never said your name, pointed out Naruto. The Kyuubi for its part was a bit stumped. It didn't mean for Naruto to ask such a question. It was just pointing out the existence of the bijou. It honestly didn't think the boy would be so perceptive. And I never will if I have a say in it. You are not worthy of hearing my name, so put it out of your mind. More importantly, you are in no position to want to know my name when you don't even know yours, said the Kyuubi. At first Naruto was peeved at the slight against him before becoming mightily confused. His name? What in the world are you on about? My name is Uzumaki Naruto, affirmed Naruto, causing the beast to chuckle lightly. It really pissed him off to hear it. While it's true that your name is Uzumaki Naruto, it isn't your full name. Technically speaking, you are missing your father's last name, replied the Kyuubi with an almost evil grin on its face. Naruto snapped to attention upon hearing that. You know who my parents are? Tell me. Please. Pleaded Naruto. It was the one piece of information that he valued above all others. He has been asking the Hokage for years with no success. He desperately needed to know whether they were still alive or dead, whether they hated him and threw him away, if they loved him like he hoped and prayed they did. The Kyuubi had a brief flash of sympathy flash through its eyes before it disappeared. It needed to know whether or not this boy was the one she was waiting for. Of course I know who your parents are. The old monkey leader of your village knows as well. I will tell you. But you need to prove yourself first. You need to show me your resolve, said the Kyuubi. Naruto's head snapped up to look in the eyes of the bijou before him. Even the Kyuubi was a little taken aback by the intensity in those cerulean eyes of his. How? Was the simple word that escaped his mouth, but it was filled with determination. The Kyuubi just shook its head amusedly. This boy never ceased to amaze. Simple, you need to confront your darkness, all those negative emotions you buried deep within your psyche in an attempt to gain acceptance from those pitiful villagers by showing that you are harmless. You need to show me that you won't lose yourself to the darkness lurking within you. But most importantly, I won't tell you anything until you are finally complete. Life is all about balance, yin and yang, spiritual and physical, light and darkness. They are two sides of the same coin. You are imbalanced. By burying away your darkness, you essentially denied a part of yourself and hid it away. Until you confront this aspect of yourself, I will not tell you what you desire, said the Kyuubi in the most serious manner he has seen from it thus far. He was honestly a little shocked by that revelation. He had no idea that he went so far as to reject a part of himself, just to appease the villagers. He was unsure how to feel about that. Would he be able to face all the pain and hatred that he buried away? Will he be able to maintain his sanity when he finally comes face to face with the thoughts and feelings that threatened to break him when he was younger? Suddenly, he heard footsteps, heading towards him. He could hear the slight splashing of the water on the floor as whoever it was neared him. His heart was beating a mile a minute as he turned to confront the intruder. Well, if it isn't my other half, finally deciding to come pay little old me a visit, spoke a voice that was so similar to his, but with a more guttural quality to it. It sounded a lot more menacing than he ever did. He turned around fully and was met with a sight that set him on edge. The person who spoke to him was an exact replica of himself, with one striking difference. The eyes, while his were a clear cerulean, something that Haku-chan complimented him on, the replica had eyes that were blood red, with sclera that was pitch black that were twisted in hatred and contempt. All in all, it was a bone-chilling look to see on his face. Wah! He blabbered. Those damn villagers, all they've done up until now was shun us, abuse us. The replica seethed vehemently. Who are you? Questioned Naruto carefully. The replica just sneered at him. Can't you tell just by looking? I'm you, answered the replica. Huh? I don't recall making any shadow clones. Protested Naruto. I am your true self, the true self that lives inside your heart, replied the replica. Naruto was in a state of shock and denial as the implications started to hit him. I didn't think the Kyuubi could bring me to the surface like this. I am the true you, the real you, stated the replica. The real me? Whispered Naruto with a feeling of dread pooling in his stomach. Yeah, I'm your precious hatred, your dark self. Thundered the now identified, Yami Naruto. You, spoke Naruto in a daze as he gazed upon the culmination of his years of self-suppression. That's right, I'm the true you. I won't let you drive me out, poser, stated Yami Naruto emphatically. So that's how it is, Naruto replied calmly. There was a moment of tense silence before Yami Naruto exploded into action, catching Naruto by surprise with a fierce left hook. Even while experiencing the pain, Naruto noticed that the technique and form of his dark self were far more refined than his own. He recovered quickly before sending a haymaker of his own at Yami, who blocked it. Naruto then head-butted him to break the stalemate. As they separated, Naruto's thoughts were racing. I don't want to fight him. I've had enough of that these past few days. But it seems like he doesn't want to talk this out. I have to find some way to defeat him, Naruto thought. You will never defeat me, stated Yami Naruto, causing Naruto's eyes to widen in shock. It was almost as if he was reading his mind. Yami Naruto charged Naruto once again with a flurry of kicks and punches. Most of them were blocked by Naruto, but he still took a lot of damage. He was putting up minimal resistance as he continued to take a heavy beating. He didn't want to fight. He was already messed up enough. What use would it be to be at war with himself? His mind drifted back to the days he spent with Haku-chan. Flashback. Is it wrong, Haku-chan? To feel hatred for the people who've hurt me? Is it wrong to want to hurt them in return? Will you think any less of me? Naruto asked as his head lay in Haku's lap. They were in the clearing where they first met 2 days ago. Naruto had a solemn look on his face, with hints of fear as he asked his companion this question. Haku, on the other hand, had that gentle smile on her face that caused Naruto's heart to flutter with joy. Never, Naruto-kun. I could never think less of you. It's not wrong to feel these emotions. Everyone feels them at some point, myself included. It's a part of life. What's important is that while it's okay to feel them, one must never give in to them. You have to accept that part of yourself. Denying it will only compound the feeling. But you should never let hate overcome you. That's why I think it's important to fill yourself with love, to counter the hate. Haku answered with a beautiful smile on her face that made Naruto break into one of his own. Flashback end. Naruto smiled gently to himself as he recalled his angel and the words she spoke to him. It was almost prophetic when you considered the situation he was in. He could feel himself being filled with energy. He didn't fully understand when she said those words to him, as he had no understanding of love at that point, but now he understood. Naruto, for his part, was irked. His counterpart was not fighting back at all, and now he had this happy smile on his face. What are you smiling about? Do you think this is a joke? Thundered Naruto. No, I don't think it's a joke, Naruto answered with the same smile on his face. Then stop smiling. I hate that smile. It's the same smile that you use to cover up the pain those worthless villagers inflicted on us. You might have forgotten, but I haven't. You seem to have forgotten that for 13 years they treated us like shit. They knew we weren't the Kyuubi. They knew we were just the container, but they still scorned us. They taught their children to do the same. Even though they knew this, they still treated us like trash. No, they treated us lower than trash. They treated us like some lower life form that didn't even deserve existence. We were denied the ability to pursue our own happiness. Apparently, that was too good for us. And all you do is smile and say you will protect those same monsters who denied us for so long. Screamed Naruto, the pain in his words striking a chord with Naruto. These were his feelings, his thoughts. Ever since he was younger, he had an aversion to thinking. If he thought too deeply, he would question why people hated him, knowing he would never get the answer. He would question why he was the only one who wasn't allowed to be happy or have friends when he knew the answer would be too painful to bear. So he suppressed the need to think too deeply, hoping to avoid causing himself too much pain. He smiled sadly at his dark counterpart. It's true, I used this smile to cover up the pain that we experienced. I don't regret it, though. I know that if I didn't, the pain, the loneliness, and the hatred we felt would have broken us. You are right about those villagers, though. I see that now. But it won't change much. I will still smile through it, Naruto responded. His answer caused Naruto to explode in anger. How can you say that? They've always deceived us. They made up random rules to shun us. Do you not remember the pain? It was almost unbearable. I'm the only one who understands you. Shouted Naruto. Tears were running down both of their eyes as they relived the pain and loneliness of their childhood. They both understood each other far better than anyone else. As Naruto got close to Naruto, he cocked his fist back to deliver a punch but never completed it as Naruto held him in a strong embrace, filled with love and acceptance. How can you accept them? Yami whispered painfully. Naruto just smiled through the tears. You seem to have misunderstood me. I know how the villagers treated us, and for so long, I yearned for their attention, for their acknowledgement. Even going so far as to pull pranks and wear this bright orange jumpsuit, although it's all they would sell to me, just to gain attention. Even if it wasn't positive, I didn't care, as long as they were looking at me. I even neglected my shinobi training, being the dead last, the dobe, because I was too busy trying to get their attention, even though I now know it was in vain. You don't have to worry, though. I finally understand. I know that I can no longer run from all that which I buried within me. I can no longer push you away and hope they will accept me. Because I already found someone to accept me, faults and all, and returned it with unconditional love. The opinions and acceptance of the villagers are a shallow consolation prize now. We hit the jackpot when an angel, so pure and filled with love, gave us what we've craved all our life. From this day forth, I promise you, no longer will I smile just to hide the pain. I will smile knowing that wherever she is looking down at me and happy, knowing that I will be free to be who I am because her love gave me the strength to. The acknowledgement of the villagers no longer matters. If they want to hate us, let them. But I won't give in to my hatred, that would make me no better than them. I will stand strong, and I will persevere. I will protect the village, not for the villagers. That's because your body and mind are no longer at war. You are no longer rejecting yourself, even on a subconscious level. Your body and mind is now working in harmony. Be proud, boy. Not many people reach this point in their life. I doubt even that old monkey you call Hokage has reached this level of self-actualization, explained the Kyuubi. Naruto just nodded his head in understanding and a little amazement at how rare what he accomplished just was. His head snapped up though when he thought about the Kyuubi's voice. When he first came in here, he recognized a strange quality to its voice that he couldn't really explain. But now that his mind was clearer, allowing him to think better, he realized what it was. Its voice sounded almost feminine. His eyes widened in comprehension. You're a woman, shouted Naruto in shock, his eyes bulging comically, as he pointed his finger at the colossal fox, who just broke down laughing at the ridiculous expression on his face. That's right, boy. I'm the mighty Kyuubi no Kitsune, queen of the Bijou, replied the now identified female Kyuubi to his exclamation. Naruto for his part got over his little shock and just stared at the Kyuubi, who was doing another ridiculous pose, with a deadpan stare. You totally made up that title, he pointed out. The Kyuubi for her part looked affronted. It doesn't make it any less true though, she answered stubbornly with a pout that looked totally out of place on her terrifying visage. Naruto just shook his head in amusement. Man, I always thought the Kyuubi was a guy. Who knew it was a girl all this time? Naruto commented lightly. He knew he said something wrong as the atmosphere changed immediately and an oppressive aura settled in the room. The Kyuubi looked at him with a dangerous glint in her eye. Are you saying that women are too weak to be considered as mighty as I am? Are you a ist boy? She asked with a dangerous edge in her voice. Naruto just continued to look at her with a deadpan stare, totally ignoring the oppressive feeling she was giving off, much to her chagrin. No, it's because your voice is deep and gruff, and unless you look for it, it's hard to recognize the feminine quality to it. Long story short, you sound like a dude. You should really do something about that, pointed out Naruto bluntly. The Kyuubi could feel a metaphoric arrow piercing her chest with the masculine written on it. She allowed her head to fall and her ears to droop. I didn't ask to sound this way. Do you know how hard it is to be a woman with this voice? She asked with a pitiful voice. Naruto started to feel a little sorry for her. Look, I'm sorry I said that. If it's any consolation, I think you have a very pretty voice, Naruto said kindly, causing both of her ears to perk up cutely. She looked up at him with a searching stare. Really? She whispered uncertainly. Naruto just nodded emphatically, causing her to perk up even more and her tails to wag happily. Naruto had to stifle his giggle at her cute behavior. She really wasn't as bad as people made her out to be, but he knew from experience that people only see and believe what they want to. They judge what they don't like or don't understand with harshness. He sobered up though as he needed answers. He finally accepted himself after all these years. For him to move forward though, he needed to know where he came from. He needed to truly know who he was for him to be the man he wants to be. You told me you would tell me about my parents if I passed your test, he pointed out, snapping the Kyuubi out of her reverie. She looked down at him with a scrutinizing stare before nodding her head and resting it on her paws in front of her. Sit down and make yourself comfortable. I will tell you not only about your parents but about my origins. It is a story that is connected and universal, she said. Naruto nodded before he sat down on the water-covered floor in a cross-legged position. Naruto was listening with rapt attention as the Kyuubi regaled the tale. The Kyuubi as well noticed that he paid full attention to her words. If this was the old him, he would have gotten bored halfway through and drifted off. It seems fusing with his darker half, which embodied the more spiritual aspect of himself, represented by his, explained the Kyuubi to an amazed Naruto about the origins of ninjutsu. Finished the Kyuubi, gritting her teeth at the thought of that accursed clan. Naruto on the other hand was wide-eyed at the history of the founding clans of Konoha. Assholes, those Uchiha were always arrogant pricks. They always went out of their way to make my life difficult when they were still around. It's no surprise their ancestor was just a big baby throwing a temper tantrum, stated Naruto with a scowl on his face, causing the Kyuubi to smirk at him in approval. She said the word a man with such hatred and contempt that Naruto had to do a double take. The fury and malevolence plastered on her face at the thought of whoever this man was really brought out her bad side. Her visage right now resembled more of how he thought she would be. He made a mental note to never piss her off, she said with a bitter tone in her voice. It was a demeaning memory. She looked at Naruto, who was a bit shocked and a little interested at a certain piece of information. She knew which it was, and decided to enlighten the boy. Naruto was in tears as he heard the origins of his name. He now knew, his parents loved him. They were pretty famous too. He decided to listen on to the story before he go too emotional. Finished the Kyubi, she was anxious to know his reaction to the story he's just heard. It would decide the kind of interactions they would have in the future. That's the story of how you became a Jinchuriki. Do you hate me now? She questioned with a neutral expression on her face. She needed to see if he truly could be the one her father spoke of. She needed to know his strength of will and fortitude. Naruto just sat in silence, contemplating everything he heard. It was a lot to take in. He found out he belonged to a clan. He wasn't the first person to hold the Kyubi. He finally learned the names of his parents. I want to hate you. I really do. I want to scream about the injustice of the world. But I know that it will make no difference at this point. I know how it feels, to be pushed to the side, to be ignored and be thought of as a monster, to be disregarded as a mindless beast. I understand you better than anyone. I know if I had a chance to make that difference in my life, I would take it. I don't blame you for wanting your freedom, which was stolen from you, back. I do feel a little guilty for the way my mother treated you, I guess. In my mind I always had this imaginary image of my parents being perfect and infallible, but they were human too, capable of making mistakes and judgments influenced by others. I'm still not sure how to feel about my father. While I'm happy he loved me, I can't help but be a little pissed at how I was sacrificed for the village. It isn't an easy pill to swallow. While I'm sure they had their reasons, they subjected me to a life of hell. I guess there's no use thinking about it now. I just have to make do with what I have and move on with my life. So to answer your question, no Q-chan, I don't hate you, answered Naruto, with an understanding smile on his face. The Kyubi for her part smiled back at him, happy that she finally found a human who was worthy. After centuries of hatred and prejudice she can hopefully fulfill the job left to her by her father. Her mind finally caught up to what he said though, causing her head to snap in his direction. What did you call me? She asked incredulously. Well, I can't keep calling you Kubi. It's so impersonal, and since you won't tell me your name, I decided to call you Q-chan, answered Naruto with a mischievous and teasing smile on his face, causing a furious blush to appear on the face of the Kyubi. Don't add chan to my name. I'm the mighty Kyubi no Katun, you insignificant worm. Not your childhood friend. You should be calling me Kyubi-sama, shouted the Kyubi in anger as she pounded her head against the cage, much to Naruto's amusement. Calm down Q-chan, you're going to give yourself an aneurysm at this rate, placated Naruto. But it lost its effect as the Kyubi shot him a scathing glare for calling her that name again. He just smiled happily at her in return, causing her to huff in annoyance. I'm starting to regret calling you in here, she said, causing his smile to widen even further. Don't be like that Q-chan, we're going to be a great team, but we need to find a way to get your Yin chakra back, pondered Naruto, completely missing the look of utter shock on them, mixed with hope, on the face of the Kyubi. What? She questioned, just to be sure. Well, you said the Yondaime split your Yin and Yang chakra apart, meaning, right now you are incomplete, again, considering what happened to me a few minutes ago. I think I understand better than anyone what it's like to be missing a part of yourself, so we need to find a way to give you back your Yin chakra, answered Naruto like it was the most natural thing in the world. The Kyubi just looked at him carefully before breaking into a smile. This boy really never ceased to amaze her. While I appreciate the sentiment, you are a long way away from being able to extract my chakra from the belly of the Shinigami. You need to be more knowledgeable in Fuinjutsu for that to be possible. As it stands, you are barely acceptable as a shinobi, pointed out the Kyubi bluntly, causing Naruto's shoulders to droop and a small raincloud to appear over his head, causing her to chuckle. I know that. I regret not taking my training seriously. I can't help but wonder sometimes, if I was strong enough, would Haku-chan still be alive? He questioned himself. The Kyubi looked down sadly at him, knowing how painful the girl's death was for him. It did make her feel a twinge of something. She was unsure what it was though. She decided to put it at the back of her mind and help him out of his funk, soothed the Kyubi, making Naruto smile at her in appreciation. That's the first time you called me by my name, he pointed out with a smile on his face, causing her to huff in annoyance. What do you mean I have the right tools? He asked quizzically. She just shook her head at him. You have the perfect training tool in your arsenal, and you can use in a way that nobody else can do to your unique condition, she said, causing question marks to appear above his head. She forgot that he was still an idiot when he learned the technique and therefore never truly understood what he was learning, the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. You haven't realized it yet, but they have a special function. When a Kage Bunshin dispels, the memories of its lifetime is transferred back to the original. This technique was originally designed for recon missions, where you can send in a clone and get the lay out of the place as well as traps without the danger of being caught. You on the other hand, with your massive chakra reserves, accelerated healing plus me inside of you, can use this jutsu like nobody ever has. Imagine it, if you made 10 clones, what would normally take you 10 days to learn can be learnt in 1 day and so forth. What could take most people years to master, you can do it in days, weeks or months. Depending on how many clones you spend on it, you can use it to finally catch up on all the important points you missed from the academy and go even further. The possibilities are limitless, she pointed out. To his wide-eyed amazement, he thought back to all the times he used the technique. He realized, with a jolt, that it was all in combat situations. While in the rush of the battle he never took the time to notice anything off about his clones. He was an instinct fighter, so he probably did get memories of his clones, but he mistook them for his own in the heat of the moment to beat his targets. The Kyuubi was right, the applications of this jutsu was mind-blowing. He could accelerate his training by years. While that asshole Sasuke now had his little eye infection, he had a much greater tool in his arsenal. A wide maniacal grin spread across his face as he started to chuckle in a creepy manner, making the Kyuubi sweat drop at his behavior. He snapped out of it though and fixed her with a scrutinizing stare. Not that I don't appreciate the help, but why are you doing this? Questioned Naruto with a suspicious undertone in his voice, now that he's finally whole again. His personality is much more in line to what it should be. As such, years of mistreatment had caused him to have a rather cynical view of things. Humph, regardless of what you hairless monkeys think of me, I'm not some mindless beast filled with hatred, she said. I know that, interrupted Naruto, but why are you being so forthcoming with information? He questioned. Because I realize that I'm stuck with you. The seal on this cage binds us together. If you were to die, I would follow you, only I would end up in the stomach of the Shinigami with the other half of my chakra. It's futile to try and fight you when there are other forces working against us. That accursed Uchiha who manipulated me the night you were born is still out there. There are others as well who would mean both you and me harm. I have a feeling that you will play a pivotal role in the coming events. Plus, I can't have my host be weak. As the Jinchuriki of the mighty Kyuubi no Kitsune, you have to stand above them all as my avatar. So I have decided that I will aid you as I expect you to aid me. Consider it a mutually beneficial partnership, she concluded with a fanged grin. Naruto, for his part, broke out into a happy smile. So, we're friends. I'd be glad to be your friend, Q-chan. Naruto concluded with a satisfied nod, like he had just made the greatest deduction. The Kyuubi just looked at him with a wide-eyed expression on her face. That wasn't at all what she said. I'm not your friend, you insolent brat. If you were inside this cage, I would flay you alive, you worthless flesh bag. And don't call me Q-chan, roared the Kyuubi in impotent anger, causing Naruto to smile serenely at her, further irritating her. You are so angry, Q-chan. You need to relax every once in a while. Oh, speaking of anger, I've noticed that in the last few days, I am able to somewhat sense the emotions of people around me. What's up with that? Inquired Naruto. The Kyuubi, for her part, finally calmed down and smirked at him. That is a special ability that can be granted to my hosts when they sync with my chakra. It's called negative emotion sensing. You awakened the ability when you momentarily synced with my chakra on that bridge, when that midget threatened your mate. You didn't give in to the hatred, which would have usually happened, causing a corrosive chakra cloak to appear. But because you balanced it, either by fluke or on purpose, you achieved the conditions to unlock this ability. It's the highest form of sensory in the world. Nothing can ever escape your notice if you learn how to properly control it, bragged the Kyuubi in a smug tone of voice as Naruto looked up at her with sparkling eyes of admiration, further boosting her ego. Whoa, you're so cool, Q-chan. Imagine how this will aid in my training. I won't have to worry about people spying on me now when we get back to Konoha. I need to get training quickly if I want to get to an acceptable level. Luckily, I have Zabuza and Haku-chan's equipment to help me out, not to mention their scrolls. Plus, with the Kage Bunshin to aid my training, I can progress nicely. I only need to worry about my physical training now. I need to gain some height and weight, said Naruto. The Kyuubi, at first, had a tick mark on her head at the annoying nickname he insisted on calling her but let it slide for now to address more important matters. It's because of all the ramen that you ate that stunted your growth. I don't blame you, though, as I know it was hard to get other food. But now that you're a shinobi, you should start hunting for your own meals. It will help your trap setting and tracking skills, plus you get a meal out of it. And by finally eating a proper diet, I can divert the nutrients where it's needed to fix your malnutrition and stunted growth. Once that is fixed, you just have to keep eating healthily to allow your body to flourish naturally, pointed out the Kyuubi, earning a comically tearful smile from Naruto to show his gratefulness, causing her to shake her head ruefully. Plus, you have an advantage when it comes to physical training as well. With your Uzumaki heritage and my chakra flowing through you, you have an abnormal regeneration rate. What takes most people weeks or months to heal, you do it overnight. So when you train your body, constantly tearing your muscles and healing them overnight, you are making them stronger and more durable, increasing your strength and durability to inhuman levels, finished the Kyuubi. Naruto just looked at her with an even stare that gave away nothing, making her a bit nervous at his unnerving stare. I love you, Q-chan, he said with finality, causing the self-proclaimed queen of the bijou to splutter incoherently with an atomic blush that could be seen through her crimson fur. Wah! What are you saying, you worthless monkey? Stop being a baka. Just get out of here, protested the Kyuubi, in what Naruto thought was quite a cute manner. I didn't think Q-chan would be at Sundra. It's going to be so much fun to tease her, thought Naruto with an evil grin, causing a shiver down the spine of his tenant. Fufufu, we've got a lot of work ahead of us. But I know we can rise to the top. The world won't know what hit it when we're done with it. Are you with me, Q-chan? Declared Naruto with his fist pumped to the sky. The Kyuubi just sighed in exasperation, already feeling a headache coming along from dealing with her unpredictable host. But she grinned to herself regardless, she wouldn't have it any other way. I knew there was a reason for you being my favorite host. And don't call me Keiwayu-chan. Roared the Kyuubi while Naruto just laughed at her antics, happy that he made another new friend. It was his second, behind Haku-chan. He was happy about that. He now had something to look forward to in the future, and a lifelong friend to share it with.